left have questioned, I've looked at this deal and questioned what your core values are, what specifically you will go to the mat on. I'm wondering if you can reassure them with some specific things and saying, all right, this is where I don't budge. And along those lines, what is going to be different in 2012 when all of these tax cuts, again, are up for expiration?
Well, what's going to be different in 2012 we've just discussed, which is we will have had 2 years to discuss the budget. Not in the abstract, but in concrete terms. I mean, over the last 2 years, the Republicans have had the benefit of watching us take all these emergency actions, having us have preside over a $1.3 trillion deficit that we inherited, and just pointing fingers and saying, that's their problem. Well, over the next 2 years, they're going to have to show me what it is that they think they can do. And I think it becomes pretty clear after you go through the budget line by line that if, in fact, they want to pay for $700 billion worth of tax breaks to wealthy individuals, that's a lot of money. And that the cuts, corresponding cuts that would have to be made, are very painful. Either they rethink their position or I don't think they're going to do very well in 2012. So that's on the first point. With respect to the bottom line in terms of what my core principles are, yeah. Well, look, I've got a whole bunch of lines in the sand. Not making the tax cuts for the wealthy permanent. That was a line in the sand. Making sure that the things that most impact middle-class families and low-income families, that those were preserved. That was a line in the sand. I would not have agreed to a deal, which, by the way, some in Congress were talking about, of just a 2-year extension on the Bush tax cuts and 1 year of unemployment insurance, but meanwhile, all the other provisions of earned income tax credit or other important breaks for middle-class families like the college tax credit, that those had gone away just because they had Obama's name attached to them instead of Bush's names attached to them. So this notion that somehow, we are willing to compromise too much reminds me of the debate that we had during health care. This is the public option debate all over again. So I pass a signature piece of legislation where we finally get health care for all Americans, something that Democrats had been fighting for 100 years, but because there was a provision in there that they didn't get that would have affected maybe a couple of million people, even though we got health insurance for 30 million people and the potential for lower premiums for 100 million people, that somehow that was a sign of weakness and compromise. Now, if that's the standard by which we are measuring success or core principles, then let's face it, we will never get anything done. People will have the satisfaction of having a purist position and no victories for the American people. And we will be able to feel good about ourselves and sanctimonious about how pure our intentions are and how tough we are. And in the meantime, the American people are still seeing themselves not able to get health insurance because of a pre-existing condition, or not being able to pay their bills because their unemployment insurance ran out. That can't be the measure of how we think about our public service. That can't be the measure of what it means to be a Democrat. This is a big, diverse country. Not everybody agrees with us. I know that shocks people. The New York Times editorial page does not permeate across all of America. Neither does the Wall Street Journal editorial page. Most Americans, they're just trying to figure out how to go about their lives and how can we make sure that our elected officials are looking out for us. And that means because it's a big, diverse country and people have a lot of complicated positions, it means that in order to get stuff done, we're going to compromise. This is why FDR when he started Social Security, it only affected widows and orphans. You did not qualify. And yet now it is something that really helps a lot of people. When Medicare was started, it was a small program. It grew. Under the criteria that you just set out, each of those were betrayals of some abstract ideal. This country was founded on compromise. I couldn't go through the front door at this country's founding. And if we were really thinking about ideal positions, we wouldn't have a union. So my job is to make sure that we have a North Star out there. What is helping the American people live out their lives? What is giving them more opportunity? What is growing the economy? What is making us more competitive? And at any given juncture, there are going to be times where my preferred option, what I'm absolutely positive is right, I can't get done. And so then my question is, does it make sense for me to tack a little bit this way or tack a little bit that way? Because I'm keeping my eye on the long term and the long fight. Not my day-to-day news cycle, but where am I going over the long term? And I don't think there's a single Democrat out there who, if they look at where we started when I came into office and look at where we are now, would say that somehow we have not moved in the direction that I promised. Take a tally. Look at what I promised during the campaign. There's not a single thing that I've said that I would do that I have not either done or tried to do. And if I haven't gotten it done yet, I'm still trying to do it. And so to my Democratic friends, what I'd suggest is let's make sure that we understand this is a long game. This is not a short game. And to my Republican friends, I would suggest I think this is a good agreement because I know that they're swallowing some things that they don't like as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing them on the field of competition over the next 2 years. Thanks very much, everybody.
Don't ask in the lame duck.
Wow, a feisty President Obama speaking directly to his Democratic critics in response to the criticism he has received over this tax deal. I want to get Chris Stirewalt's thoughts on what we just witnessed there, Chris.
Well, Megyn, I dare say that will do very little to calm down the Democrats on Capitol Hill, who are already very angry with the White House. And what you heard the president basically say was, it's your fault. If you would have taken up these tax cuts before the election, as I told you to do, we wouldn't be in this boat, but you didn't, so we are. That's a very, very tough line, and that's really sort of playing beanball with your fellow Democrats. So that's a tough line from the White House.
He spoke directly to the critics on the far left, saying, look, if this is your position that I have to go all in to the far left on every issue, we're never going to get anything done. He said we'll have the satisfaction of purist positions and no victories for the American people. That may not be good news to the left, but did he win over some independents with statements like that?
Well, we'll have to see whether the deal passes. If it passes, he has a chance to gain back some ground that he may have lost in the middle on health care. But I think right now the problem, if you're calling your fellow Democrats sanctimonious, was the word he used, if you're doing that, you're going to spend a lot more time putting up brush fires on the left.
And that's the group he's trying to appease right now. We'll wait to see how it plays out. Chris, thank you so much for being with us. And thanks to all of you for being with us. We missed out on Kelly's Court today with that woman in the bathroom. That's worth bringing back tomorrow. In the meantime, my friends, Shepard Smith takes over with Studio B.
Megyn, thanks. Our coverage continues now. First from Fox at 3 o'clock, the president under attack by members of his own party over the tax cut plan and beyond. They say the president is going back on yet another campaign promise. But the president moments ago defended his deal with the Republicans to extend all the Bush-era tax cuts, even those for the wealthiest of all wealthy Americans.